Hello, hello. Happy Friday.
Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to Female Forward.
Uh-huh.
And hi, Toni. And
Welcome back,
today
everyone.
we have a really interesting show, I'd say. Really interesting topic because last time we talked about getting into the boys' club,
Uh-huh.
basically how to get the key to the clubhouse. And today we are actually talking about making it a more pleasant experience. So what we're talking about today is the Thrive Stack. What do you
Mhm.
need to really thrive in that environment? And as a woman in tech or in another male dominated industry, you know that you need
Yes.
that toolkit.
Yeah.
All right. Yes.
100%.
Very happy to have you all here. And as always, drop in the comments your questions, your comments, everything. I
Mhm.
will actually open the open LinkedIn. I don't have it open right now.
So I don't
Uh,
have it open either. I'm trying to
I
protect my
will open
bandwidth,
that
but
while Toni, tell us a little bit about the role of confidence in leadership. Why is
oh,
what is it important? What is it?
mhm.
I think we both have a little different takes on it
We do.
too, which can
Yeah, we
help.
do.
But
Yes.
why don't you get started while I find our page so that we can see our comments and questions?
Absolutely. And I would just say before I kick off on confidence, I'd love to know where you're all watching from, whether you're watching the replay or live. Pop in the comments, tell us where you're joining us from. And as Micha said, please pop in with your questions, comments. We'd love to answer your questions, whether it's watching us live, we can answer them live, or on the replay. Drop your comments or send us a DM if you'd prefer. We are here to help. Our job here is to put women forward. That's why we call Female Forward. So let's talk about confidence and from the concept of our thrive stack, the mindset, the skills to thrive. Here's the thing with confidence. First up, you need to realize that confidence is something you get from taking action. It is not this thing that's going to miraculously appear just because you've done the right mindset work. Confidence happens because you've got experience. But at the same time, from the leadership angle, confidence underpins true, authentic leadership. We hear a lot about authentic leadership. The people who have true authenticity are the ones that are quietly confident. They trust themselves. They trust their decision-making powers. They have let go of the second guessing. They know they aren't going to get it right, but they also know that they're going to be fine if it's not right. They're going to pick themselves back up. They have the confidence that they will be okay. And I think that's something that's not talked about enough. We think confidence is feeling good about the decision, knowing it's going to 100% work. Not, there's no need to second guess yourself because you're adamant that it's a thing, which can make us reluctant to be confident because some part of our brains go, confidence is arrogance. Those two are so different. But I think a lot of us are quietly telling ourselves, I shouldn't be confident because I don't want to be arrogant. Confidence makes me an asshole. Confidence means I'm like that person over there that I do not like. That is not confidence. That is arrogance. It is different. Confidence is a quiet, grounding feeling of, I'm not doubting myself. I am confident that whatever happens, I will be okay. I am confident that I can lead my team through this. I am confident that my team can do this. I am confident in my trust of my team. I'm confident in the strategy. But I'm also confident that if the strategy doesn't work, we can pivot and we will be fine. It's that quiet, calm confidence that means that people turn to you. It means you have that executive presence. It is so peaceful. I keep using calm confidence. It's peaceful when you have this kind of confidence. And that's what the role of confidence in leadership is really about, in my opinion. Micha.
Agreed on all of that, but I want to add that for people who are very bubbly, extroverted, confidence does not necessarily feel
Me.
calm. Right? For me,
I
very,
yes, and
very
I was
vibrant. Uh, so,
yeah, yeah. Mhm,
um,
mhm.
so how it feels to you depends on who you are,
Yeah.
but agreed on. it's really confidence to a certain extent is the absence of self-doubt about having to get it right,
I love that.
right?
Yes, about this exactly, about having to get it right. It doesn't mean you don't have doubts. It's just you're okay with
Yeah,
the doubts. I think doubts are
yeah.
healthy in the right way. And, I'm going to challenge you as somebody who's extremely bubbly. I'm going to challenge you on how confidence is not always calm. I think it's not always calm, but leadership confidence should be calm. And I say that as somebody who early in my career, people would think I was stressed. And I was just excited. I was excited, confident. As a leader, that isn't actually helpful. As a leader, I would say that calm confidence is leadership confidence. The excited, bubbly confidence often damages your ability to control the situation, well, to influence the people around you. But you also need to be able to bring that excitement to them, but in a calm way. Does that make sense, Micha?
Yeah,
Or
I
you can
know
still
what
disagree
you're
with me, by
getting
the
at.
way.
I still think it's a little bit of a
Mm,
personality thing. Um,
yeah.
the bubbly aspect of confidence can help with motivation and
Mhm,
just like team spirit in a transition period, for
mhm, mhm.
instance. But it really, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you don't want to bring all that energy to the team, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
other thing I wanted to say on that point of confidence is that what I've encountered a lot, and I'm sure you have too, is that people get stuck, even people who are relatively confident, right? Who find that space. They
Yes.
they
Mhm.
often say, "But I have never done this." Huh? So as a
Yes.
reason, like I'm not confident right now because I have never done this, and that's the
Mhm.
point where I feel that's the crucial point where I always tell clients, or like right now our listeners, you can, yes, confidence builds on experience, on doing things over and over again,
Yes.
yes, but that doesn't mean that confidence always has to be drawn from the thing you're currently doing. You
Yes.
can.
Yeah.
You have, if you're not 2 years old, you have thousands of experiences to draw on. And your
Uh-huh.
memory goes way
Mhm.
back, right? So you can draw confidence on 10,000 times having proven to
Mhm.
yourself that you're a quick study. That's an easy one for women,
Yes.
especially, right? I'm a quick learner.
Mhm.
I'm a
Mhm.
hard worker. That's not the stuff you want to have on your gravestone, but it's the stuff. It's the
Mhm.
building blocks. It's the Lego of your confidence, and that's like it's the
Mhm.
base plate of the Lego, and you go from there.
Yeah.
So more advanced things to draw confidence from, apart from this. I'm a quick learner. I'm a hard worker. Then you go probably to something like, I figured out so many things in my life. I could figure that one out too. I'm a
Mhm.
problem solver. Or
Mhm.
personally for me, I can figure things out means I'm really good at winging things. I know that. If need be, I like to be
Yeah.
prepared, but I have 1,000 examples where I was really good at winging something. That's so
Mhm.
all of these are Lego pieces, and
Mhm.
you have
Mhm.
those. You
You
have
do.
those
You do.
always.
Okay, so let me call out something that's maybe a little bit uncomfortable for some of us. And this is, let me just say it, and then some of you are gonna wig
Mhm.
out, but stick with me. Confidence is a choice.
Mhm.
So the reason I say that is precisely because of what Mickey has been talking about. I think sometimes we choose to, and choose is a very strong word to explain what I'm saying. I'm deliberately using it to give you the possibility to choose differently. We choose to sit in this place of low confidence. We choose to believe the stories of, I haven't done this before, I can't do it. I'm going to mess up. I'm the stories you're telling yourself, I will. What if? And we choose to sit in that space, often because it means we stay still. We don't take action, which is scary. And we are hardwired as a species to stay in safety, right? So it's safe, but also because we've got role models around us that we don't like, the arrogance, right? It comes back to that arrogance versus
Mhm.
confidence piece. And so we find stories to stay where we are. And that feeds this narrative of I don't have
Yeah.
confidence too. I'll be confident when. You can choose to do exactly what Micha was talking about, which is find the little nuggets. I can give myself this building block of confidence here, and this building block of confidence here, and this here, and build yourself this pyramid of building blocks of confidence that get you 90% of the way there for this thing that's a little bit
Yeah.
scary. But you have to choose to do that. And I think most people don't realize they have a choice, but it is a choice. It doesn't mean there isn't a little bit 10% scary, but you get to choose to make it 10% scary rather than 90%
Yeah.
scary. And that's
Yeah.
my point. Confidence is a
Yes.
choice. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely 100% agree. I want to caveat that a lot of people have early life trauma. That's not what we're talking about,
Yes. Yeah.
right? This is
No.
something that has to be dealt with in different ways. But for those of us who had the regular ups and downs in life, you can really go to that place of choice, right?
And
Yeah.
then there's another thing here that really can help our confidence other than choosing to find those building blocks, which is preparation. And I think this is something we don't see enough people talking
Yeah.
about. Preparation is, I mean, I teach thinking on your feet, right? What does it mean to think on your feet, be able to answer questions, spitball up, all those things. What people don't talk about those people who think on their feet is 90% of it is preparation. Preparation gives you so much. It allows you to think, it allows you to strategize, it allows you to have clarity, it allows you to get out of your own head because you're not thinking, I don't know this. You're going, oh yeah, I know these 5 things, let me stitch them together. Your cognition is focused on stitching things together rather than what don't I know. Preparation gives us so much confidence as long as we don't spend all our time preparing and not
yeah,
doing.
I just wanted to add, preparation does not mean that you overthink your next presentation. That is not what Toni is talking
right level
about,
of preparation,
right? It means
Yes,
that maybe that you read the Harvard Review or something, the Harvard Business Review or something, and then you, when something comes up, you're like, wait a second, I've read something about that. There was this nugget. And depending on how you process information, I just feel like I put it all in the big storage, and whatever keeps will come back out eventually. And hopefully, and I trust myself that it will probably come out when I need it. Again, that's a confidence building block because it's happened a lot.
And I think it's finding the right level of preparation for the right thing. If it's a big board presentation, you are going to put quite a lot of work into it. But interestingly, things like job hunting, right? The classic is I can't apply for a job yet because I'm not ready to interview. And I'll often say to my clients, okay, great, let's prepare you for interviewing by interviewing. Let's get you in front of a job that you do not want to prepare. And they're like, oh, I can't.
Low threshold.
Yes, exactly. There are so many ways to prepare. This is my thing. Sometimes getting out there and getting uncomfortable is the best preparation for you.
And there's one thing. This sounds like a silly metaphor, but many of us play Wordle still, right? I'm really big on Wordle. So there are 2 ways to approach Wordle, and I'm not saying that one is better than another, but I say one is less stressful than the other. So there are people who sit there and they're very focused on getting it as soon as possible and getting it right. Right? Everybody has their own strategy, but one strategy is really, and it takes them hours, and that's fine. They might, if you enjoy that this way. I do not. I do the Wordle like while I do my first morning coffee, and I know I have 6 tries to get it right. So I don't have one starting word. I have 2. I throw them both in, and I go fast. I rarely take longer than 20 or 30 seconds to get it. But I rarely get it on the second or third try either. It's 2 strategies,
and the thing is, there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly, and that's where fail fast. The Wordle is a little bit of a silly metaphor,
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
there is a reason
Okay.
for my two starting words, one based on vowels, one on
Uh-huh.
consonants, because that's my experience. I know what's most common.
Yes.
I start with what's most
Mhm.
common and go from there.
Mhm.
So, right,
Interesting.
that's what I'm saying with
Well, so
preparation. That's my preparation.
I would say this links really perfectly to actually a piece we're going to talk about a bit later in because this is
Yeah,
toolkit, right? We have a second piece of the toolkit. I want to jump to the third piece of the toolkit and we'll come back
yeah,
to the second, which the third piece of the toolkit is resilience. And I think you've just described perfectly the need for resilience, which is it doesn't matter if I
yeah. I
fail,
have to get it right
right?
eventually. I mean,
Yes,
I
but
have
that's
to
okay.
find
You
a
can take 10
solution
goes.
eventually. Let's put it this way.
Yes.
That's what, yeah.
I think a massively underrated piece of our ability to thrive is resilience.
Mhm.
I think resilience should be taught in
Yeah,
kindergarten.
yeah,
I think actually tiny tots are actually quite resilient. It's kind of drummed out of us as we age. And by the time we leave high school, I feel like our resilience is at the bottom of the bucket. We should be teaching and maintaining resilience because resilience in the face of challenges and setbacks is it's not just going to bring us back. I think resilience is a bounce back
right.
ability. That's how I refer to it with clients. It's your ability to bounce back. But it's also how you bounce back is your
Right.
opportunity. Ability is your catalyst for the next big thing. It's because you're having to bounce back that you're going to do great things. It's not in spite of.
Mhm.
And so resilience has a very, very important piece to play as leaders in that if you can bounce back, you are going to go further than if you didn't drop in the first place. It's it's like being on a trampoline. You go down and you go further into the net, but when you bounce up, you're going to hit the ceiling. If you just on a concrete surface and there's no down, you don't go very far. Your resilience, your bounce back ability takes you further, and each time you come down, you drop less far.
Yeah.
And to me, that is possibly the most underrated piece of leadership advice I
Yeah.
could give anybody. Work on your resilience. Work on how you bounce back. Work on how you see the opportunities. Work on how you see your abilities in the face of a challenge. And that is going to be
Yeah.
your biggest asset in your career.
And think about the challenges you've had before and where you've had failures, so to speak.
We don't
What
like
did you
failures
do
around here,
next?
do we?
No, no, yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what it's like.
Exactly.
What society considers failure. And
Hmm.
when you look at stories of famous, successful
Hmm.
people,
Hmm.
it's always a story of the supposed failure that
Hmm.
led to the big success. That's basically the template of those stories. I mean, I think sometimes they, if that's not there, journalists or interviewers really struggle how to tell the
Hmm.
story, because this is our template for how we tell personal success stories, right?
Yes.
And
Hmm.
it's the template because it is so often the case
Hmm.
that these people had a hard time for whatever reason, um, and they decided to not give up and drown in it.
Hmm.
And that's where the resilience piece comes in. And you have done it, maybe not like Steve Jobs, who lost his company and made it to got it back and made it into the most valuable company in the world for a time. That's extreme, but in
Hmm.
your own way, you've had those stories.
Hmm.
Look at them. Look at them,
Hmm.
because that shows you what your personal MO is
Yes. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you can strengthen.
Hmm. Which brings me to advocacy, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because if you can see your strengths, you also can see how to advocate for yourself. You can advocate for your ideas without being labeled negatively. You can advocate for the things you're suggesting without allowing the pushback to be personal. And you can advocate for yourself by having boundaries and asking for what you need and not feel bad about putting your own face mask on first and all the things that we do as women.
Preferably
Assertive.
actually setting boundaries and advocating for yourself before you're in a crisis where you need the mask.
100%. Right, that is so important because that also helps our resilience, right? So,
Yeah, yeah,
the ideal is we never need to put our own face mask on first because we've put in place mechanisms to protect ourselves in the first place.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you aren't here, you can't help somebody else. So
Right.
you've got to look after yourself. As a coach, I know I can only do my clients the best job, the best service if I'm in a good place.
Yeah.
To do my job and support my clients, I have to be a little bit selfish. I
Mhm.
have to take care of myself. I have to get a good night's sleep. I have to not answer the client query late at night, because otherwise none of my clients tomorrow are going to get the best thing out of me.
Right. And you
Uh,
need a coach or a therapist or whatever. You need your support system.
Absolutely. I mean, yes, I can't do my job without my own support system, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a reason why coaches have coaches. There's a reason why therapists have therapists, because we can't do this without a support system in place. And I would argue that every single one of us needs our boundaries, needs our support system, needs to take care of ourselves,
And
precisely
I
because it's
want to
hard.
tell you, if you now think, but they need me, and or feel bad about, if that's very uncomfortable for you,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
think about a nurse or doctor you know.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Obviously, one of the two of the most important
Mm-hmm,
professions ever. Nobody doubts that those are people who give
mm-hmm.
a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
And all of them, no matter if they are nurses in their first year of training or
Mm-hmm,
surgeons who've done this for 30 years,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
they all need to learn, apart from their medical knowledge, they need to learn to leave the job there
Yes,
and go
they do.
home,
They have to.
right?
Mhm,
So you will, any medical professional, and especially
mhm,
the higher the stakes are in
mhm,
their
mhm.
field, they will tell you that, all of them. So if a
Actually,
nurse or a doctor can take the time to be selfish,
mhm, mhm.
you can too.
And so here's a really interesting one I want to just pop on the table, which it might sound like I'm countering what Mika's saying. It's actually quite the opposite. COVID and the medical profession. We now know that there was a lot of PTSD, there still is, in the medical profession because of
Yeah,
COVID, because they thought they had
yeah,
no choice but to do everything they did for us as a species.
yeah.
Thousands of medical workers the world over died during
Yes.
COVID. But more to the point, they've got PTSD because of how much death they had to deal with,
Mhm.
how much they had to handle. They felt they didn't have a choice. And now we are all suffering because the medical profession, we've got people leaving it in droves because they've got PTSD, they've got trauma.
Mhm.
There isn't enough, there aren't enough doctors right now anywhere in the
Mhm.
Western world because they didn't take care of themselves. Now, they would argue, and we can have this debate. That's not what I'm trying to get at. We could have the debate about they needed to. That's not what this is about. It is a lesson in look what happens
Yeah,
when we don't
if
take
they
care of
don't,
ourselves.
or if they
Mhm.
can't or don't. Yes.
Yeah. And
And
I'm
yeah,
sorry, but I don't think
crisis. Yeah,
most of us are not dealing with life and death. And I
yeah,
think we therefore need to be a bit more honest about do you really need to make that sacrifice? Is somebody going to die if you don't do this?
yeah,
Very few of you listening are probably in that situation.
yeah,
But there are times when we feel that if I don't, then, and I'm just urging you to challenge that
yeah,
narrative a little bit.
yeah. And also, how loyal is your company to you?
Oh, that's a biggie, isn't it? Like,
When you are when you feel you
Mhm,
have to have that loyal to the company, how
mhm,
loyal is the company to you?
mhm,
Really?
mhm. Okay, so let's now talk about our fourth tip
Yes,
for this
yes.
Thrive Kit, which is some real practical changes
Mhm.
of how we can show up differently. So, where would you start here, Mika?
So I would start with the confidence piece.
Mhm.
Really working on the confidence piece to say, what do I completely trust in myself? What
Yeah.
do I
Yeah.
trust? That I'm a fast learner, that I'm a problem solver, that I'm a person who can take a complex issue and
Mhm.
really
Mhm.
explain it to everybody. What is the thing, or what are the
Mhm.
things? We all have
Mhm.
them. That's where I would start. If it is like by you just remembering or really writing those things down, turning them into a mantra, that is where I would start. That's my first
Mhm.
thing for the confidence piece, because I think it's really elemental to be able to really draw confidence from new things you do.
Yeah. My
What's yours?
my top tip here, and I've got several, but the first one I would go with is language. And actually, you
Mhm.
need the confidence that Mika's just been talking about to do this. Rather than saying, can I just, or I think, or anything like that, let's be a bit more assertive in our language. Assertive does not mean aggressive, and it can be a very subtle change. Same tone, same body language, but different words. And replacing I think this with I recommend. Can I with I, right? Just
Yeah.
speak. Let's get rid of the filler words that are trying to insert yourself and justify your existence. You don't need that. So practicing these assertive phrases, and I love to give my clients, when I pick up on phrases that they use, I love to like get my clients to write on a sticky note, these are the phrases I'm going to use. And if they sit at home working, that sticky note gets sat next to their camera so that's there, that just the key phrases they're going to use. If they work in the office, that sticky note goes in two places. They have one on their mirror in the morning and they have to say them out loud to themselves, and they love me for this. And the second version of the sticky note goes in their favorite notebook that they take with them, or their laptop, or somewhere they're going to regularly look at it at work, but obviously you can't
Mm.
have it, sorry, I just need my sticky note from my coach. But the whole point is to have those phrases top of
Yeah.
mind, to train yourself to just speak differently.
Yeah. And I
Those
think we're
simple changes.
talking more about the communication piece also in 2 weeks.
Yes, in 2
Right?
weeks we are talking about
Yeah.
mastering communication, but like
Yeah.
just as a
But
simple
yes, good
toolkit,
starting point. Yes.
simple changes to how you open dialogue is so important. Stop apologizing for existing, my love. You do not need to apologize for your ideas. You need to own them.
Yeah.
The other tip I want to talk about is where you focus your thoughts. As a leader, one of the big things that you need to do is to focus on long term despite the short term. The short
Mhm.
term is the noise, it's the churn, it's the day to day, it's the firefighting, it's the can you do this, can you do that? I needed this yesterday. And if you focus on that, you are going to drop your resilience, you're going to drop your confidence, you're not going to get as much done, you are not going to
Yeah.
have the impact you deserve. You're going to get to the quarter end and be frantically trying to do this strategic stuff you've been promising that you haven't delivered. I want you instead to all be thinking longer term. The more senior you are, the longer the term is. Nobody is going to give you permission to do this. They're all going to demand 110% on everything else. But the thing you actually get paid to do, the higher up you are, is longer term.
Yep.
You aren't actually paid to firefight. It feels like you are,
Mhm.
but that is probably not your job. Your job is to eliminate the embers of the fires before they even happen. That
Yeah.
requires longer term thinking. It requires being proactive about what's going to cause the embers to spark in the first place, rather than there's a fire, let's put it out.
Yeah.
Focus on long-term goals is probably one of the most important things you need to do as a leader, and the simplest way to thrive. Shift your focus.
Yeah. And I will add one more thing for building resilience, and that's trying something new.
Oh, I
And
love this.
that
Yes.
does not have to happen at work.
Mm-hmm.
You all have your own lives, and probably they are busy, but it can be that you accept an invitation to go snowshoeing. It can be that you join a friend for paint and sip. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I bet 90% of the people who listen to this, or just generally, say, I'm not creative, I can't paint, I'm not an artist, all these things. But how often do you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can be an artist without actually making art. So,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that you have to be a commercially successful artist. Absolutely not. You can throw it away afterwards. But that's for instance one of the things. So it can, for me, it's usually something creative or something athletic that I just try, and it totally sucks when I'm not good at it, because I want to be good at these things. But that helps me build the resilience. A client of mine just told me that story, that she has joined a pickleball league with her sister. And she told me this fun thing. Her sister seems to be very ambitious, but she's been in that pickleball league last year and she lost every single game. And
Oh.
now she now she roped her sister, my client, in. They play together because she's like, eventually I want to win something, or I don't want to win alone. That is resilience. That's how you build resilience. She enjoys
Mhm,
it. A very ambitious person,
mhm,
it doesn't
mhm,
really matter if she wins or loses games in that
mhm, mhm,
hobby league, right? That's how you build resilience, especially
mhm,
if you find something that's also fun.
mhm. Well, that actually brings me to possibly my final tip, because I know we're at time. But my final tip is about leveraging our allies. So
Hmm.
we often talk about having your allies to amplify your voice, but I think you can leverage allies in so many ways. Not just somebody to amplify your voice and your ideas, but somebody who can say, that's a good idea. Having that ability to bounce things off of in a safe way. Have an ally who thinks the same way as you. Have an ally who challenges you. Allies can be your resilience in the same way that story there about pickleball. Sometimes your ally is the person that can just give you that resilience to take that next step. Leverage allies. And actually, I'm going to leave you with a bonus one too,
Hmm.
because I'm talking about leverage. You talked about trying something new. I'm going to say try to act in your zone of genius. Leverage your zone of genius. That is where you do your best work. You're in the flow state. It just oozes out of you. It feels easy. You're asking yourself, why do people get paid to do this? This is so easy, right? If you can spend the majority of your time in that flow state, in that zone of genius where you love what you're doing and it's easy, you are going to be the best leader you can be. And then you spend a small amount of your time pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And because you spent so much time in your flow state, spending time in your outside your comfort zone feels less painful, because you haven't spent all day not being yourself, doing things that are hard, making decisions outside your comfort zone. You have been operating in your zone of genius for so long that you have a full bucket of resilience for doing something hard when you choose to step out of your zone of genius. That is such a great recipe for success.
Yeah. And to wrap that up, first of all, if you, I'm just looking at the thing I have open on the other screen. If you have a comment, a question, drop it in the chat.
Yes, please
We would
do.
really love to hear from you. And I want to wrap that up, coming back to from what you just said to the beginning with the confidence Lego pieces, because
Hmm.
many people, and women in particular, don't value the thing that comes easily to them,
They don't. Yeah. It's such
right?
a
that
shame.
that what you I'm not a big fan of the terminology in the zone of genius in that book. I'm yeah, not a fan of the author.
I don't even know
But
which book you're talking about, actually, because there's so many people
that
talk
zone
about
of
Zone of Genius.
genius, zone of excellence, it's Gay Hendricks, The Big Leap.
Oh,
um
right. Okay.
a
Interesting.
very, very old white dude language, so not the
Yeah.
biggest fan, but
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, that just as a side note. But the things that come easily to you that you don't really value is what others really admire in you. And
Hmm.
those are the easiest things to build confidence on. If you
Yes.
think I could do that all day, or I don't know why people struggle with this or why they need a course,
Hmm. Hmm.
take that as a big building block for your
Yeah.
confidence,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? I don't care what it is. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
But this is a great starting point.
Let me just do a quick recap. I haven't got notes on everything we've talked about. Let me just see what I can remember. So,
Mhm.
first of all, confidence. Remember that confidence is the absence of self-doubt, and how you prepare the actions you take. You can choose to be confident even though it doesn't feel like it. You can have building blocks. Assertiveness. Learning how to advocate for yourself. We talked about the language of replacing I think with I recommend, but learning how to set boundaries, ask for what you need, ask for what you want, assert your opinions, not a bad thing. Work on your resilience, know how to have that bounce back ability. Recognize that bounce back ability is often where you can grow the most, because you're on the way down and the way back up, you learn so much. Remember that your bounce back ability is probably your biggest catalyst for your next steps. That language, I know we're going to talk more about communication in 2 weeks' time, so make sure you're on this for that. Staying focused on the longer term and being strategic rather than the immediate and the noise and the churn and the loud, I must have that, which isn't necessarily serving you. And then amplifying our voices and learning how to amplify our work by operating in the right way. And that comes back to the flow state, whatever you want to talk about. The stuff where you go, that's so damn easy. Why is somebody paying me to do it? Leverage that, leverage it. If you're wondering why you're paid for it because nobody else does it and you love it, it might just be the thing that is why you are so valuable.
Mhm.
Anything I
Yes.
missed, Micha?
Nothing. I mean, yeah. I think that's a perfect recap, and I hope this is helpful. Was helpful to everybody who sees it. We will be back in 2 weeks. I said I just opened that on May 2nd. Again, same time.
May
That's
2nd.
8 Pacific, 4 p.m. UK. And our next topic is really about communication. Strategies to be heard and credited by the tech bros. So it's called Interrupt the Interrupters because that's where it all starts. But of course, we are going to cover a lot more ground than the situation of being interrupted and not heard in meetings. We will start there, but we'll go a lot further than that.
Love it.
I wish you all a great weekend, and I hope you'll be here again in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye.